There was a girl named Malee, and after she graduated from college, she found herself embarking on an exciting new adventure as a cabin crew member for a prestigious national airline. Malee had always been fascinated by the idea of traveling the world, and becoming a flight attendant seemed like the perfect way to turn her dreams into reality. From the moment Malee stepped onto her first flight, she was captivated by the fast-paced and dynamic world of aviation. Every day brought new challenges and opportunities as she jetted off to destinations far and wide, each flight a thrilling adventure filled with excitement and possibility. But amidst the glamour and excitement of her new job, Malee couldn't help but be drawn to the stories of strange and eerie experiences that her fellow crew members whispered about during layovers. One destination, in particular, seemed to capture the imagination of everyone who worked for the airline, Nevalis. Nevalis was a small town nestled in the mountains, and the airline had a contract with a hotel there where the crew would stay during layovers. The hotel, a grand old building that had once been a hospital, had a reputation for being haunted, with tales of ghostly apparitions and unexplained phenomena haunting its halls. Despite the warnings and trepidation of her colleagues, Malee found herself strangely intrigued by the stories of Nevalis. There was something about the idea of exploring the unknown and uncovering the truth behind the hotel's dark past that appealed to her adventurous spirit. So, when the schedule revealed that Nevalis was their next destination, Malee felt a mixture of excitement and trepidation. As she and her fellow crew members prepared for the flight, there was a palpable sense of unease in the air, as if everyone could feel the weight of the stories that surrounded Nevalis. During the pre-flight briefing, the captain's usually confident demeanor seemed to waver slightly as he spoke about the layover in Nevalis. The crew listened intently, exchanging nervous glances and whispering among themselves as they contemplated what awaited them at their destination. As the plane soared through the skies towards Nevalis, Malee couldn't shake the feeling of anticipation that coursed through her veins. The landscape below seemed to grow increasingly rugged and remote, adding to the sense of isolation and foreboding that hung in the air. When they finally touched down in Nevalis, Malee could sense a shift in the atmosphere. The airport was small and deserted, with an eerie silence hanging over the tarmac. As they made their way to the hotel, the looming silhouette of the building seemed to cast a shadow over the town, its imposing facade a stark contrast to the surrounding landscape. Inside the hotel, Malee was struck by the grandeur of the lobby, with its ornate chandeliers and polished marble floors. But beneath the surface elegance, there was an undeniable sense of unease, as if the building itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. As Malee checked in at the front desk, the receptionist handed her the key to her room with a polite smile. But as Malee looked down at the key, she couldn't shake the feeling of apprehension that washed over her. Room 404, the number seemed to echo in her mind, a silent reminder of the hotel's dark past. Ignoring the knot of fear that quilled in her stomach, Malee made her way to her room, each step echoing loudly in the empty corridor. As she unlocked the door and stepped inside, she was struck by the stillness of the room, the air heavy with the weight of the stories that surrounded it. Despite her best efforts to push aside her fears, Malee couldn't shake the feeling of being watched as she unpacked her bags and settled in for the night. The room felt cold and oppressive, the silence broken only by the occasional creak of the floorboards or the distant sound of a door slamming shut. As the night wore on, Malee found herself unable to sleep, her mind racing with thoughts of the hotel's dark past. She tossed and turned restlessly, the shadows in the room seeming to dance and shift with a life of their own. Just as Malee was beginning to drift off into an uneasy slumber, she was jolted awake by a sudden knocking at the door. Heart pounding, she hesitated for a moment before mustering up the courage to open it, only to find the hallway outside empty and deserted. Shaken but determined to prove herself brave, Malee decided to explore the hotel further, hoping to uncover the truth behind its dark reputation. As she wandered the empty corridors, she couldn't shake the feeling of being followed. The hairs on the back of her neck standing on end as she crept deeper into the heart of the building. Suddenly, Malee heard a faint whispering sound coming from one of the rooms down the hall. Heart racing, she hesitated for a moment before mustering up the courage to investigate. The door creaking open ominously as she stepped inside. What she saw next would haunt her for the rest of her days. The room was bathed in a cold, blue light, casting eerie shadows on the walls. And in the center of the room stood a figure, its features shrouded in darkness as it beckoned Malee forward with a skeletal hand. Unable to tear her gaze away, Malee felt herself drawn towards the figure, a sense of dread quelling in the pit of her stomach. But just as she was about to reach out and touch it, the figure vanished into thin air, leaving Malee alone in the darkness once more. Terrified and shaken, Malee fled the hotel, vowing never to return. As she boarded the plane and watched Nevalis disappear into the distance below, she couldn't shake the feeling that she had stumbled upon something ancient and malevolent, something that should have remained buried deep beneath the earth. And though she tried to put the events of that night behind her, Malee knew deep down that she would never be able to escape the darkness that had taken hold of her soul. For Nevalis was not just a place, it was a gateway to something far more sinister. Something that defied explanation and lurked in the shadows, waiting to claim its next victim.